Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 9th council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. May I have a roll call, please?
Estrella. Mr. DeJohn.
Here.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Monaco.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Here.
Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now move to the approval of the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting, April 25th, 2022. I hope everyone has had time to read these minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mr. Mano. Are there any suggested changes, amendments, or deletions to those minutes?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Monaco.
I have a couple changes. On page 2, the amount that's listed as $21,044 on line number 5 should actually be $29,044. And on line number 9, where it says the demolition of the exterior pool, I believe that language should be the demolition of the existing pool.
Okay. All right, those changes have been noted. Are there any other changes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
All right, these minutes,
Abstain.
and Mrs. Tressi, okay. These minutes have been approved. Next, we will move to the approval of minutes of the council meeting from April 25th, 2022. I hope everyone has had time to read these minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. DeJohn. Are there any changes or deletions to these minutes? Okay, seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstain. 2 abstentions, and these minutes have now been approved. Does any member of council have any comments, correspondence, or announcements? Okay. Next, we will move to reports of officers, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. On April 28th, I had the honor of attending the groundbreaking for the new Apex Dermatology headquarters. The $8 million facility is being built at the corner of Cedar and Landerbrook and is scheduled to open in July of 2023. In honor of Arbor Day, on April 29th, the Service Department planted a maple tree at Oakville Park. For the 6th year, Tree City USA has recognized Mayfield Heights as a participant, so we're happy to be involved in that. I wanted to remind our residents that the city is a member of the Heritage Home Program, and they are a great asset for homeowners wanting to undertake home improvements. The Heritage Home Program information sessions and other presentations are coming up this month on their website. So for more information about these virtual or in-person events, you can go to heritagehomeprogram.org/calendar. And registration is required for virtual events and can be done over the phone or through the calendar. And on Saturday, May 21st, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District will host a Utility Assistance Resource Fair to offer eligible customers financial assistance on water, gas, and electric bills. The Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, the City of Cleveland Division of Water, Cleveland Public Power, Cleveland Water Pollution Control, First Energy, and CHN Housing Partners will all be on site. The fair will be held at Glen Village, 1400 East 105th Street in Cleveland, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Appointments are preferred and can be scheduled by calling 216-881-8247. Walk-ins will be accepted. Eligible customers will be able to sign up for a variety of assistance programs at the fair, including the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District's Affordability Program, which provides a 40% reduction on sewer bills, and Crisis Assistance Program, which provides up to $300 credit on sewer bills. So the attendees are asked to bring copies of their utility bills, electric, gas, sewer, or water, and proof of household income, which could be a pay stub, social security statement, or your most recently filed 1040. So if you plan on attending, make sure you bring those and register. It's a good idea. And lastly, the Summer City Focus publication should arrive in mailboxes within the next week. This edition includes a calendar of programs and events happening throughout the summer. So it's a great guide to use this summer. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the mayor? I just have one. We've not dedicated a tree or have a plaque for Mr. Newman yet, so I was wondering if maybe we can work on trying to do that this summer or spring.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Law Director, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Murphy? Thank you. And Director of Finance, Mrs. Fagan.
Thank you. I have no report this evening either.
Okay, thank you, and welcome back. All right, next we will move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, beginning with the Building Committee, Mr. Monaco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report this evening either.
Thank you. Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report. The committee did not meet.
Okay, thank you. Legislative Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. No report.
Public Works and Service, the chair is Mr. Balestrea, but he is not here this evening, so Mrs. Trezzi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We all received information from Mr. Gerson, our engineer, about our road program and his suggestion for dividing one road program into A and B because of the costs that, the bids that have come in that are higher than Mr. Gerson's engineering estimates. Mr. Gerson's here. I'm sure he's going to explain all of this to everyone.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, Recreation and Parks, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report.
Thank you. And Safety and Transportation, Mrs. Trezzi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report.
Thank you. Board of Zoning, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. Resolution 2022-32, the applicant has withdrawn. Council should have received his email. After meeting with the Director of Building, Mr. Thomas, the applicant has decided to go another way. I refer to Mr. Murphy to vote the denial recommendation by the BZA. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, it would be my suggestion that council vote on this resolution since you are following the BZA guidelines, and I would prefer to see council just vote the resolution to
Deny?
yeah, no, well, they denied it, so you want council to approve that denial.
Madam Chairman, did
Mrs.
Mrs.
Trust.
Sabetta say Mr. Thomas?
Braden Thomas, or he met with him.
Oh, he met with the commissioner, Mr., okay. Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
Did?
Were you done? I'm sorry. Did you have anything else to say?
No.
Okay, thank you. And Planning Commission, Mr. Balestre is not here this evening. Mayor, do you have anything?
The final site approval for the pool and community center is on the agenda this evening. Since Mr. Balestria is not here, I'm not sure if we want to wait until he is here to approve that,
Have a full council?
to have a full council
Okay.
to vote on that. So
We
maybe
can
we'll
move
put
to
that.
table that.
Yeah, table that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions for the mayor? All right, we will move to comments from the public. Pursuant to city code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes for the entire public portion. If you are here in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to address council. However, please note that this is not the opportunity for debate or slighted comments. If you would like to be heard this evening and you have not done so, please fill out a form in the back of the public entrance, and you can bring it up to the podium. It's fine. During the public portion, I will call each person wishing to speak. Please state your name and address for the record. It is now 7:14, and I will open up the public portion. Would anyone like to be heard? Come up. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, thank you. Just keep it for the record. Thank you. Yes. Mhm. And just state your name and address.
Go up to the mic here.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is James Urbanik. I live on 1234 East Minor Road.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to address two things. I don't have a chance to go to all these meetings, but because I belong to a boat club and we have meetings on the same nights usually. But anyways, I see that the new buildings going up on Mayfield Road at Mayland. Wasn't there a distance they had to stay away from the sidewalks, that they're up so close?
Want to address it?
Isn't there either a bylaw or city code?
So just typically during public portion, we just let you address it rather than have conversation. So you can just say what you have to say and we can answer after.
Oh, okay. And then another thing about the city complex that I heard that how it's going to be, it's only going to be a 3-lap pool instead of 6 laps that pools usually are, 5 or 6 laps or lengthwise. That they're going through all this extent to the homeowners to build this complex, and it's not even a full pool to swim a lap in it. It's going to be so limited. And for where they're putting it, I can't understand why they just didn't close the city pool, drag a pool, and relocate that down in that area, because there's so much room in the city park down there versus putting it up by the freeway. I've heard people left and right complain about what the noise is going to be, the pollution from the vehicles and everything else. There's a lot of negative results for being up there on Marsall, plus the homeowners and everything else. I go to a place myself where I used to work. I worked out in Northfield and Macedonia. I go to Macedonia Rec Center. It's a beautiful complex. I think if you would have had something similar to that, this place would be jam-packed for what the city could offer them with all our industries off of Lander Road and that, plus the businesses at Eastgate and Golden Gate and Mayfield Road. I think the city made a mistake on building the small part of a pool versus I could see the update of the kiddie part, making the splash area with the waterfall and all that. I can understand that, but if they would have made an indoor-outdoor complex there, that would have been ideal in the city park itself, down below, instead of putting it up by the freeway. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jim. Did you want to address anything? Mayfield Road corridor.
So Jim, the sheets and the Raising Cane's going in at Mayland is where it should be according to code. The Mayfield Road, or actually Mayfield Heights Retail Corridor Design Manual, which was 7, 8 years ago now, I can't remember exactly, changed the requirements for buildings and moved them closer to the street, so you don't see parking lots, you see buildings. So that's why they are within code there. And the pool is not a small pool by any means. It's actually, it has more than 3 lanes. There's 7 if you count the other, I just got that cue from Chris, I won't lie. There's 7 altogether, 7 lanes.
From the picture, it shows
There's 7, trust me, Jim, there's 7. You might,
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard this evening? Okay. It is now 7:17, and we will close the public portion. Moving to resolutions, starting with resolution number 2022-32, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-32, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in denying the Joseph Gallagher, 1341 Wharton Boulevard, a variance to widen the driveway on said property into the rear yard along the west side of the garage. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 862-02-047. Second reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mrs. Sabetta. The applicant has withdrawn his application. Mrs. Sabetta spoke of that in her minutes, and Mr. Murphy would like us to move in favor of voting this evening, rather than just withdraw it. So roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this motion has been carried. Resolution number 2022-33, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-33, a resolution authorizing the mayor to take all steps necessary to apply for and accept a NatureWorks grant from the state of Ohio to assist in constructing the playground at the Mayfield Heights Aquatic Center in the city and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mrs. Sabetta. This resolution will give us the opportunity to apply for a grant to help with the construction of the playground at the new aquatic center. The city would have to authorize $750,000, and if the grant is received, then we would be eligible for the reimbursement under the terms of the National Grant Program. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Mrs. Tressi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. One question is, do we have to give the NatureWorks a date on when we will be completed with this project? I know I went online and I was reading it, and it tells you that penalty points are occasionally assessed if, proper administration of public funds isn't done, or if the project is not complete by a certain date. So do we start at a certain time so that we can finish at a certain time?
So I'm going to, Mr. Ward, if you can come up and explain how this works, that'd be great. Thank you.
So we'll apply, and typically they make awards in the fall, September, October, and then typically you have 12 to 18 months to get your project done. Our goal would be to try to have it done by June 1st of next year. So.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. So when you submit for the grant, you have to show them what the playground will look like?
You do have a little bit of wiggle room, but you have to show them a general description. You have to give them specifically where it's going to go. So we can't win this grant and then go put a playground on Gates Mills Boulevard. We have to give them the property lines. We have to give them like 5 different maps specifically showing them where it's to go. Now, if something changes, and like for instance, we want to do, ADA is important to getting a grant, so we need to do ADA accessible facilities. So we may make a decision to switch from one thing to another, but it's all kind of, as long as you're in the same ballpark, you're going to be fine. with that.
And the grant's only up to 150,000?
Max of 150, yeah.
So I have a question. Can you apply for other grants for the playground as well? And could they coincide with this whole?
So we're looking to do a county block grant in the fall. So I'm still trying to determine if that's going to be awarded before, this all goes forward. So, but yeah, we're looking for other ways to fund that as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. DeJohn?
Mr. Ward, when do you plan on applying for this grant? When is the application going to be completed and submitted?
So it was June 1st. We just found out officially today that they've moved it back to July 15th. But we are working on the application as we speak. So I will share that with you when we're complete. I know you asked for that.
Thank you.
Are there any other further questions? Thank you, Sean. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2022-33 has been approved. Resolution 2022-36, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-36, a resolution providing for the employment of TMS Engineers, Inc. to design and administer the Mayfield Road Corridor Traffic Signal Safety and Equipment Upgrade Project for the City of Mayfield Heights and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Tressi, second by Mrs. Sabetta. All members of council should have received a memo from Mr. Murphy stating that the project will not exceed a cost of over $275,000, which would include a grant of $425,000. This would enhance 17 light signals located on Mayfield Road to help promote the flow of traffic. Does any council person have any questions or comments? Mr. DeJohn?
Just one. Is there going to be any video cameras on any of the lights?
Mr. Gerson or Ms. Mike? Mike?
Yeah, Mike.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Mike Schweigert, TMS Engineers. Should have checked that time. At this point in time, we are not looking at video cameras unless the city wants to put those in for reasons of being able to monitor the traffic conditions, directly. But it was not part of the original grant application.
Could it have been?
Yes, and it would be approved. We can do as many as we want. And I do recommend that we do, particularly the more aggressive traffic corridors, such as the interchange, 91 and Lander Road, where we have some high incidents for traffic crashes and a lot of volume.
So the reason I'm asking, my wife was broadsided, T-boned at that intersection. Lady got out of her car, said that the other lady went through the red light. Police came, cleared the intersection, and said, we can't determine who was at fault there.
That's
So-
some of the problems that we have with the existing system. We did a study of this corridor in 2017 to take a look at some of the conditions that we had. And we were very concerned with the age of the traffic signal equipment from Lander to the west, because those traffic signals are on poles that are over 40 years old, and they're well beyond their design life. And so we recommend that we do an inspection of those poles once a year, just to make sure we don't come about a catastrophic problem where maybe an arm falls and things like that. So far, the poles are still hanging in there, but we had concerns of that type of situation. The traffic code also requires all of our pedestrian signals to be of the countdown type, Now, we do have those in some of our locations, but most of the city does not have countdown pedestrian signals. And then the biggest problem is that our traffic computer, which is in the service department, which connects all of these things, is connected through a dial-up modem. So now you know how old this thing is. And it's on a computer that's very, very old. And if it dies, you can't buy a computer that would run the software. The software is not supported by the manufacturer anymore, and we would be in trouble if we lost that. So that needs to be updated as well.
So are you gonna move this equipment into the police department then, or is it gonna stay in the service department? What's the reason for it in the service department?
It was there because the service department was monitoring the traffic flow, from that location. Was very easily done. It probably, with the new technology, it will be done on a server. And then that server can then send that information to whatever desktop computer that you have anywhere in the city, whoever wants to monitor the traffic flow.
And as far as a video,
But wait, let's ask someone else if they have any questions, and then we can come back to you, okay? Mr. Mano?
What I was going to ask was, of all the things you've discussed here, included in this application, this grant, everything is included that we've discussed with the exception of the cameras?
That has not been decided yet, yes, that's correct.
Approximately what would the cost of the city be to add the cameras to that?
Probably about $5,000 per location.
And you're recommending at least 2, maybe 3 locations for that?
We would recommend that, yes.
I would think we should really consider doing that. If it's not in the application, it should be added in.
That's not a problem. We're waiting to have.
The contract?
Yeah, we're waiting to have a meeting with the Ohio Department of Transportation because they have approved the project for their delivery and administration. And they want to know what we want to include into it so that they can take the project to bid and get it installed for you.
So this would change then, because the cost would not exceed the $275,000, so that would be an addition? We'd have to add that to
No, this would be part of the construction portion of the project. The construction of the project, the engineering is the $275,000 for the entire system. The construction is $2.5 million to do the entire 17 intersections and replace the traffic computer. And we're going to add, $15,000 to $2.5 million. It's not a big deal for ODOT to add that. You're talking that small cost. We would, no matter what, have everything wired anyway, so that if you ever wanted to put it in, you can.
Mayor?
I think to clarify, our end of it's going to be $15,000 more if we go with 3. It's not going to be included in the grant. It's going to be at an additional cost.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to
Correct.
clarify.
Exactly.
Thank you. Mrs. Fagan, was this budgeted this year?
The 275 we're fine with this year. When we get to the actual construction, it will need a budget amendment.
Okay. Mr. DeJohn?
so we'll need a budget amendment for the extra 15,000 for the 3 cameras, is what you're saying?
No, we're going to need a budget amendment for the actual construction. The engineering is included. As far as from my understanding, is nothing will begin until December construction-wise timeframe?
Oh, well, the schedule has not been set up. ODOT is asking to have a meeting to discuss that. I would say that they will not get it under construction for at least 2 years.
Oh. You could be off finance by then.
Oh, no.
So, just want to know, how do we go about getting cameras added to this?
I will make sure that you get cameras added to it.
Okay,
I've got it in my
Thank you.
notes, I will make sure.
thank you.
questions down here, Mrs. Tressi or Mr.
I was
Monaco?
reading the mayor's lips, he said you can't.
Jim,
Yeah.
sorry, Jim, it's only in the public portion where the public is.
I'm just gonna say you have to amend his motion to add that 15,000 to it.
Not yet.
No,
Not yet.
we're not.
The 15,000 will go towards the construction
Tim.
portion of it.
And
This
we're
is-
not asking for that
This
money
is
right
just for
now.
the
We're-
grant.
We just want to get the engineering
Engineering.
going. Yes.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Okay. All right. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. This resolution has now been adopted. Moving to ordinance number 2022-17, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance 2022-17, an ordinance amending Section 571.10F1 of the codified ordinances, declaring to continue to opt out of HB 172 and continuing to ban the discharge, ignition, or explosion of fireworks in the city of Mayfield Heights and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Tressi,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. DeJohn. This ordinance would offer a continuation of what we are currently doing despite the passage of House Bill 175. Mr. Murphy, is there anything you wanted to add to this?
Just to amplify a little bit, back in February, council determined to opt out of the legislation, but I had said I needed an opportunity to read through the entire legislation and make sure that, we were crossing our Ts and dotting our Is. So I've done that. And the only change to our codified ordinances is what's included in this legislation. Now, Chief Elliott also wants to add some additional things, which we will be doing soon regarding other fireworks. But this will continue, as the president said, will continue the opt-out of the city so that no fireworks will be permitted to be shot off in the city. So nothing will change.
Okay. Are there any questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. This ordinance has been adopted. We will now move to motions. Motion A, I had suggested that maybe we move to table so that all members of council are here. But I would like to still have Mr. Trotta give a presentation, if you would like to, in case council has any questions. So I need a motion to table. Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to table. Oh,
Just a sec. Once you table it, you can't discuss it. So
Oh,
if you want to
back
discuss
up.
it,
Let's, Mr. Trotta.
I'll read it,
Okay.
okay? And then Mr. Trotta can make a presentation, or he could do it when it's subject to be adopted.
Does any member of council want to hear a presentation tonight? Okay. Guess we'll wait.
Let me read it anyway, and then you can move it.
Okay.
This is a motion to approve the final site plan for a new 33,500 square foot, single-story building for the City of Mayfield Heights Aquatic and Community Center at 6306 Marcel Road.
All right. I guess they don't, we'll table it. I'll just roll call on the motion to table.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yeah.
What was it?
Monaco and Mr.
Okay.
Mano. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Motion A has been placed on the table. At this time, I need a motion to add motion B regarding the 2022 road program to tonight's agenda.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mrs. Tressi. Roll call to add this this motion to tonight's agenda.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Motion B, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to reject all bids received on April 29, 2022 for the 2022 Road Program A and authorizing rebidding the 2022 Road Program A.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Tressi, second by Mrs. Sabetta. We received information from Mr. Gerson. There was a total of 3 bids, I believe, that were received and opened. The bids came in for more than 10% of the engineer's estimate. Therefore, Mr. Gerson would like to rebid this project. Would you like to add anything to that, Mr. Gerson?
If I could, I'll try to be short, but if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those also. Dan Gerson, City Engineer. As was reported, we opened up the 2022 Road Program A. We received 3 bids. 1 bid was received, but it was after the 10 o'clock deadline, so we did not open that. Did not get evaluated. The 3 bids we had, the lowest bid was about 112% over the engineer's estimate. The next one was significantly more, and the next one after that was more than that. As such, we can't award the contract for this, so we have options of either rebidding it, same as we had, or try to break it down into a different type of bid, or changing the engineer's estimate. Based on discussion with the contractors, again, we had 4 bids, 3 were received on time. On the other program, we had 6 bids, so there was significant interest in the smaller contract, which was about $1.5 million. And so what we did, we talked to the contractors, and they basically said that right now there's a shortage of workers, and any project that has a lot of handwork, they're pretty much passing up if it's a large project. If they have a lot of big paving, long paving where they put machines out, run paving, those are very attractive. What we'd like to do is break the programs into 2 projects, which we hope will attract hopefully a number more bidders. That would be about $1.5 million, $1.2 million, which would be similar to Road Program B, which we hope will get more contractors, and that'll also still have one contractor. They can do both. They can bid on both, or bid on one, or bid on one or the other. I've given you one of the things we saw. Surprisingly, the asphalt wasn't a huge increase with all the oil prices that people would expect. Concrete was a lot higher, and again, that goes back to the handwork that the contractors explained. So we'd like to break down Road Program A into 2 bids. It would be Woodhawk would be in one, Mayfield Road and Ridgeberry would be all together in one bid. We'd call that A2. And then we would do Sunset, Iroquois, Elmwood, and Edgewood in A1, which would be, so we'd have 2 contracts we'd go out. The reason why we want to get it approved if you can tonight is we'd have the legal notice sent to the paper tomorrow by noon, and that'll get us in the paper on Thursday. If we miss tonight, then we would have to wait till next council meeting, which would push us back about another month. So we don't want to miss the opportunity bidding season to get out there and get some numbers. So with that, I'll try to answer questions.
Does any member of council have any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This motion has been adopted. We will now move to new business or comments from council. Does any member, Mr. DeJohn?
Thank you, Madam President. Ordinance 2022-04, the light ordinance. We spoke in committee with that back in early March. Nothing has been done yet, so I'm just wondering what the status of that is. I don't know if it was a dual committee meeting with the legislative meeting as well as the building committee meeting, I believe. And still waiting for that legislation to be put out. So how much longer do we have to wait?
Mr. Murphy?
Thank you. At that meeting, I was instructed to look and see if there was any way that we could adopt the ordinance that was drafted and introduced. And quite frankly, I'm still wrestling with that. I'll give you a sneak preview, though. I don't think that I could recommend that the ordinance be adopted, but I haven't finished my research yet.
So if I
Mr. DeJohn.
remember right at the meeting, our prosecutor said it would be kind of hard to prosecute it. But without bringing it to trial, how would we know if it would be hard to prosecute? I mean, obviously, he's a professional, he can let us know that. But I say, write the ordinance, let this council vote on it, and then if somebody wants to challenge it, let them challenge it, and if it loses, we can take it off our books. But sitting on it, I don't think is fair to the residents that it's bothering, and we've already had 2 residents come. People are using the light to agitate their neighbors, and with the LEDs, as they said, they're very, very bright. It's a nuisance to these people. So I don't know, Mayor, how do you feel about this legislation?
Mayor.
So I know there are problems. We've heard from residents who have expressed their issues, and they've been, it's very serious issues to them. In listening to the prosecutor and to our building director and Mr. Murphy, I think it is it's a hard law to enforce. I think, to me personally, I think it's a neighbor issue, and trying to codify this, and who's going to measure lumens, and who's going to be the expert at this, I think is difficult. I believe, if you go right across the street to East or West Minor, those houses are right on top of each other. So your porch or your side door light, sure, it's going to be bright to your neighbor, but in turn, your neighbor's indoor lights are going to be bright to your other neighbor. So I'm not sure where we draw the line here and how we enforce it, and what is the solution. I'm not sure. I'll give you an example. I dropped my son off on East Minor at a buddy's house. When he went, I made sure he got in. It was dark. I went in, I'm sitting in the driveway, and his buddy turned his dining room light on. Now, his dining room, the window was right there next to the neighbor's driveway. When he turned that dining room light on, the whole side of the neighbor's house lit up. And that made me think that there's going to be a lot of these occurrences if this particular ordinance goes into effect as it is. I think, like I said, I think it's more of a neighbor issue, and with our houses being so close to each other, I worry about enforcement and worry about causing issues with neighbors. I think there's got to be a way where we can work this out between the neighbors instead of making it a legal issue. That's how I feel about it.
I have a question from the meeting. Did you talk about shielding, outdoor shielding? So-
Shielding and censored lights was in there, and which I thought was a good idea, to shield light down rather than out. You could probably shield it to get your whole driveway and not hit the neighbor's house. Sensor lights in the backyard. But we have commercial lighting ordinance. So commercial lights can't impede on residential properties in the city. So why can't we have it for residents? So that doesn't make any sense to me, but I would really like to ask, Mrs. Sabetta chairs that committee, so does she have anything to add to this, or?
Well, the recommendation coming out that we asked for and was second was that the law director and the prosecutor meet and come up with some verbiage for us to review. Also, Mr. Monaco gave his expression of what he thought would be a good type of nuisance that he got from Mentor, I think. It was a paragraph and was seconded by Mr. Mano. That's where we are right now. We are working on this, but we have to wait for the verbiage. We have to wait to see if we're not putting something out there that may help a resident before they're putting up their lights, but if they decide to take it to court, that it does what it's supposed to do. And there is a problem because we do have residential, non-neighborly aspect going on too.
Mr. Mano.
I tend to agree with what Mr. DeJohn said. I think we should create a simple ordinance governed by complaint rather than an overall ordinance. And it should be about shielding. That's the simplest way to stop the pollution, is to shield one side of it, to keep it, on your own property. Like I said in the meeting, I've done that myself on my lighting, and it's not a big deal. But I do agree with Mr. DeJohn. I think we should produce something, test it. If somebody wants to take it to court, then let them take it to court and challenge it. But I think we have to do something. Like he said, you have an ordinance for commercial lighting. I remember meetings that went on and on and on about the location of lights and turning them and dropping them and raising them. Excuse me. So if we can do it for commercial, then we should be able to do something for homeowners. And as the mayor said, the houses are very close together. And if somebody is doing something out of spite, that should be declared a nuisance, and they should be forced to do something about that to curb it. If they want to go to court over it, then let them go to court over it. But we need to have some kind of verbiage that we can work from. So I would like to see an ordinance put together, very simple, and make it about shielding and have it complaint-based. If somebody's complaining about a neighbor flooding their property with light, at that point it should be addressed. And a simple solution is just to shield what the part that's facing the neighbor's property.
Thank you. So we can either go back to another committee meeting to discuss anything further, or Mr. Murphy, if you can work on this.
Well, like I said, I have been
I
for
mean,
2 months
Now that
now.
you've heard what they're simplifying it, I guess.
It's not a matter to discuss it right now, but I can tell you that just putting it up there and saying, well, we'll see what happens. We would be the ones prosecuting that person. They're not going to take us to court. We will take them to court. And if our prosecutor says he cannot make that case, then I would have to say, no, you should not adopt this ordinance. And that's what I will get back to council with as to what you can and can't do.
Madam Chairman? At that meeting, I didn't think that the answer we got from the prosecutor about how to go about this, I didn't feel that it just wasn't compatible with the issue. I just think that it was sort of like, well, there's nothing we really can do about that. That's kind of what I got out of that.
Kind of, yes.
So like I
He's
said,
very eloquent. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
if we can do a commercial ordinance, then we should be able to do a residential ordinance. And put it together, put it out there, and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, how many incidents are you gonna have? But the people that are going through this need some relief. I got emails over the weekend from some people with lake situations. And,
If you would, give me their addresses so I can, because I've gone out at night and checked them out myself.
okay,
And saw who had a problem and who really didn't. So if you could forward that to me, I would appreciate it.
okay.
So, Mr. Monaco.
Thank you. I think we should have something on the books, and the ordinance probably should read something like this. No light fixture should shed light onto abutting properties, and the candlelight reading should be 0 at the property line. I think if you have something like that, you can measure the candlelight, and you can always shield the lights so it doesn't spill lights onto abutting properties.
Madam Chair,
Mayor?
does that count lights coming from inside of the house? You're gonna have to pull a shade on your window so it doesn't escape your house? I mean, this is all things I've been thinking about, and especially when that came up when I dropped my son off at that house, and it really struck me, because that was at the same time we were talking about this. So I think those are things we need to talk about.
Honestly, I don't think that you're gonna have too much problem from a light shining through a window. I think most of the complaints you're gonna get is from someone who has a spotlight in his front yard, by the garage or somewhere that shines directly onto somebody else's property. It's not a perfect ordinance, but I think that we should have something in the book. At least that, when an inspector goes on the property, can say, okay, you're violating this. We may not be able to prosecute that, but just the fact that you can show them that you have something in the book, I think that would help. It would help me as an inspector do my job.
All right. So, Mr. Murphy, we'll continue to work on this, and hopefully you'll be able to
Yes.
share something with
Yes.
council soon. Thank you. Okay. Are there anything else, comments or new business from council?
Right here.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes. There's been a change in the Chagrin River Watershed Partnership meeting. We were to meet in person for the first time in 2 years, and it is now back to Zoom. It's on May 19th at 4 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to thank the building department for coming to our meeting this evening, and Chief Mealy and Chief Elliott. Thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. Monaco. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.